All right. Hi there, everybody. Thanks for your patience. We just had to get set up and ready to go. We're chatting with Amanda Nell today. She's our education associate, all around great teacher, works on production as well. So let me see. It looks like she's here in our audience. So we'll go ahead and add.
Hello.
Hello, Miss A.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing pretty well. It's a rainy day here, but hanging in there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for making the time to talk with us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Very excited to talk all about the things we have coming up.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you may be aware last week was Apprentice Week on the Instagram Live here for Encore. So we're continuing the trend. We're going back in time with you. But before we talk about that, do you want to kind of give us some background on how you found your way into theater?
Sure, yeah. So, similar to a lot of our participants, I actually started doing theater with my community theater group when I was just 6 years old. I was in my very first production of Annie, and it was so much fun. And the community theater that I was a part of, we did one show every year. So we would audition in January, and then the show would go up at the very end of April, at the beginning of May. And so it was an awesome experience. You were with all sorts of different age students all the way up through high school. And I just loved getting to perform on stage. So every year I kept coming back and auditioning and being in the shows. And it was just so much fun. So when I got into school, when I got to be a little bit older in middle school and in high school, when I got to choose different extracurricular classes and things like that, I was really drawn to taking the theater courses. And when I got to high school, I started working a little bit more backstage. I actually auditioned for a show and didn't get in. And I was a little bit bummed, as that can be, but I wanted to find another way that I could get involved and be a part of the production since a lot of my friends were doing it. So I spoke with the drama teacher. She set me up with the person who was working with the lighting board and the sounding operations. So I actually ended up doing a lot of backstage work for that show and learning all about the light and the sounds and how stage management works and backstage and props, and really getting a whole new experience than I had originally been experiencing with my children's theater, which was just performing on stage. So then I was getting sort of a taste for both and was really enjoying that as well. So then when I got to college, I decided that working backstage was really something that I was passionate about and really having a love for. So I decided that I wanted to focus on that aspect. And I actually spent a lot of my time in college focusing on directing. So that's sort of where I ended up and where I spent a lot of my time after my younger school age. And it's been a blast. I really love getting back to being a performer when I get the opportunity, but I really do have a passion for teaching and working as a directing position and getting to share that with other students. So that's sort of how I've navigated my path up until this point.
Awesome. Well, and could you share a little bit about how you came to join the Encore family specifically?
Yes, absolutely. So I found Encore. I was looking for a job opportunity after I was living abroad for a bit of time, and I came across Encore's website, and I was really fascinated by the fact that the students could be doing both backstage and onstage work within the same community theater group, that something was offering that to young people. And I thought to myself, if I had had that opportunity when I was a lot younger, when I was in my grade school years, I think that could have been a new way for me to experience theater in different ways at a younger age. So when I saw that, I was really drawn to that idea and wanted to learn more. Dove into the website, learned all about the mission, theater by kids for kids, which I live and breathe every day. I think that holding on to to things that are important to you. And for me, that has been theater. And so sharing that with other people, and for students to be able to share it with other students, in the classroom, in the audience, getting to have both experiences in all sorts of aspects was really something that I wanted to be a part of. So I applied for the apprenticeship. I had a Skype interview with the team at the time, and it was really awesome. I felt really good about the group of people, and I was very lucky that they wanted to have me on board. So I got an offer to come and work with them when I got home, and that's sort of where I started. And I was the only apprentice for that year, and I worked really hard in a lot of different capacities. I got to work in the production. I got to shadow some different directors and work alongside them. I got to work with props. I got really fascinated with how things are made and how things can get put together to make this imaginative story come to life on stage. So I got to really work in a lot of different production aspects. Then I also got to work in the classroom. I got to be a teacher and be with our students of all different ages, working with some teachers, working by myself in other cases, and learning from a lot of the different artists that we have in our community. And so I really got a full experience with my apprenticeship, and I kept asking, is there anything else you guys want me to be doing? Is there anything else I can help out with? Because I just felt like I wanted to be filling myself with more of what this wonderful community theater has to offer. For me, my community theater was very small, and I really loved being a part of it. And if it could have been something that was, in a larger part of my community, I think, of all the possibilities, if that could have been the case for me. So to be able to be a part of this was just something I just wanted to take part in every possible way that I could.
Yeah, I think that definitely goes along both with what you were saying about your children's theater and your experience trying to touch all the different parts. And with the apprenticeship, I think I always share with students that are younger than me, like, always learn more, even if you don't think sound or lighting or anything is going to be your jam. Learn about it. You never know when it may come in handy.
Absolutely. And it's also fascinating. Like you might not decide that you want to go and design lights or work on a soundboard, but just to know more about that can honestly do a lot of great things for you in the other ways that you might be contributing or participating in the theater. So I think it's just great to know more about the other things that are going on.
Yeah, I had, as an actor, I had more appreciation for the techies after I had worked on the soundboard. Like when you're in Tech Week and you're standing on stage and you're like, what are we waiting for? Like, what is taking so long? But then and you can be patient because you know what
Exactly.
it's like. Well, awesome. Well, I see we have some friends in the audience. We have Miss Alana and Miss Aileen are
Hello,
here.
hello.
So anyone else that is with us or joins us, feel free, if you have questions for Miss A, for Amanda, drop them in the question box below. It should be just to the right of your comment box. We'd love to hear those questions. So Miss A, I know you're working on a lot right now, but I was thinking maybe we could go through some of our Q&As and then we can talk about some awesome stuff that you're up to towards the end.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, okay. So we have, do you prefer performing or working behind the scenes?
That's a tough one. I don't know that there's necessarily a preference, but I think that there are different times that I want to experience different things. I think for myself, when I was doing my children's theater, we always put on that one show every year. So I knew that almost no matter what show it was, I knew that somehow I would love to take part in it. If it was a chorus member, if it was somebody who had a line, if it was somebody who had a singing part, maybe somebody who even had a name, right? So I just wanted to take part in any way that I could. And then as I got older, when there would be a ton of shows during the year, it sort of became something that I would have to choose, right? If I was balancing schoolwork or balancing other things, I couldn't do all the school shows that my high school was up to. So I had to sort of decide what I wanted to be a part of and in what fashion. So if I knew that the director was going to offer me the opportunity to assistant direct something, if that was something exciting to me, I shouldn't maybe want to audition, because couldn't do both in that case. So I think it has sort of developed into something that I do love. I love both, I'd say pretty much fairly and equally, but I also know that directing and spending my time in that sort of overseeing and teaching capacity is where I do prefer to spend more of my time, but I do also want to include some performance in my lifetime. Once a year has been really lucky for me the last few years going, so if I could keep that up to be in a show once a year, that would be awesome. And that's been really fulfilling to sort of have a touch of it and to get back to it, you know, without too much distance in between.
Awesome. Well, I have a Miss A trivia question for
Ooh.
those in the audience. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Miss A, but I believe that you have performed in 4 encore productions since you've joined us. Maybe 5 if you count like a standby sort of role.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
So if you want to guess either all 4 or 5, or if you just know 1 or 2, I
Yeah,
want you to drop it in the comments
awesome.
if you know what Miss A has performed in with Encore.
Maybe even bonus points if you know the role.
Yes. So we'll see. We'll see if we have any Miss A super fans out there. All right. So let's see. Ooh, I like this one. What's your favorite game to play in class and why? So I know you said
Ooh,
you work with a lot of different age groups, so we'll open it up to any age group that you
anything.
want to focus on.
Okay. So there's actually this game that I'll give 2 examples because this first one that came to mind is something that we play in person, but I'll also give you an example of something that we've been doing in the virtual classroom too. But one of my favorite in-person activities is this game where I usually use it for my younger students as sort of a focusing activity if we've been away from something for a while and then we're coming back from a break to sort of refocus our attention. You can call it a number of things. I usually like to call it whatever throwing or tossing item I have. I usually use bean bags, or you could use a small stuffed animal, a Beanie Baby. So you'll call it, 2 bean bags, and there'll be 2 different colors or 2 different animals in that case. And you gather your students in a circle, and the idea is that each student is going to toss this animal to a different student in the circle. And every student should only receive the beanbag or the animal 1 time. Every single student should get a turn, and the very last person should be throwing it back to the person who started it. And so it sort of works their idea of focusing. You want to have your partner successfully catch that beanbag. You want to be able to successfully receive it, eye contact, making sure you're in tune with the people around you. And then, of course, as it's called 2 bean bags, you introduce a second bean bag. You ask them to remember who threw it to them. Rather than remembering who they threw it to and doing that pattern, you ask them to remember the opposite. So then you take that bean bag or that stuffed animal and you throw it the opposite with the same intentions of wanting your partner to receive it and you to be able to pick it up very easily to have that successful roundabout. And so then you can kind of switch back and forth and trick them, go 2 times, forwards, with the red bean bag, and then try it once going backwards the other way and see if you can remember. See if you can do it without dropping a bean bag, throw in different things like that, sort of getting their minds refocused, paying attention to one another, and it's a lot of fun. So that's something that I really am drawn to when we're in person, when we can be. But virtually, something that's been really exciting to play has been different charades games. So we'll ask the students, we've done it with students of all different ages. We'll be playing a game and we'll say, I want you to imagine that you are creating a jungle lion. And you leave it at that, and you will see 12 different interpretations of a jungle lion, being that one person is in their living room and say they jump on top of their couch as if they're on a rock. Another student might be sitting in a chair, and so they decide to make a really strong pose with a great strong facial expression. And you'll see each student sort of doing their own interpretation based on where they are, based on how they imagine that creature or that idea to be. So using charades has been one thing that I really love to do because it gets all of those students, you know, familiar with everyone else's idea of imagination in that setting and in tune with working with one another and seeing what everyone is able to create.
Nice. I'll have to save that for any like Zoom friend hangouts I'm on because I feel like games are hard sometimes with the audio, but with charades, you don't need to make any noise.
Exactly. And that's something that I think, you know, everybody can be doing their own sounds and their own interpretations, but also you can just be doing something frozen or without a sound if you'd prefer. So it works for everybody in that case.
Nice. All right. So I'm checking back into our comments, and let's see. We have A Sidewalk Stroll, Rocket Woman, which are
Yes.
both shows in our Theater for the Very Young series. It looks like our production manager Rebecca is here. I don't know if that's
Oh,
really
it's
fair because she has all the info, but we've got Miss A's encore resume, Newsies,
yes.
Suzical, A
Yes.
Sidewalk Stroll,
Yes.
Rocket Woman,
Yes.
and then the bonus is Circulo Circle because Miss A had to step in as an understudy really quick during her apprentice year. But that's why it always
Yeah.
helps to be paying attention in rehearsal, everybody. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you could get pulled in. I literally in that case went from the soundboard operator to a performer in the show. So it's worthwhile to know everything going on around you.
Nice. All right, let's see. Ooh, this question is for both of us from Miss Aileen. What are our rehearsal bag essentials?
Ah, would you like to
What?
go first?
Sure, I can go. Always water all the time. Anyone who watches these Instagrams knows I'm always drinking water, especially if you're in a musical, because if you're dancing or if you're singing, I feel like you need a lot more. A pencil, of course. I, as an actor, I get really annoyed if my scene partners don't take good blocking notes, because then we have to go over it again. So, always a pencil to write down your blocking. Um, and then usually a book or something like Sudoku or something like that, because you don't really want to be on your phone during rehearsal. And I know at Encore we take our phones and we put them in the phone box so that everyone can stay focused. But for instance, last summer during Newsies, I wasn't on stage a whole lot, so I was doing a lot of reading off stage when I could, when I wasn't like singing in the wings for Sarah Markovitz, because she always wants people singing in the wings. But just something to keep you quiet and focused so you can hop in when you're needed. Those are my top three, I think.
Cool. Yes, I'd probably have to say similar. Number one, I'm gonna say without a doubt. I learned this most specifically, I'd say, over this last summer when I was in Newsies. There would be a lot of rehearsals that would be just dance calls. But I would say the number one thing that I would always have at rehearsal, and every single time it was beneficial, was my script. And I know that a lot of times I would almost second guess myself and say, oh, we're dancing tonight. Like, do I need to bring this in from the car, throw it in my bag? And I would always say, you know what, it won't hurt to. And almost every time we'd end up referring to it or have to go write something new down. So I always carry my script because there's definitely been times where I haven't had it and I've missed something if I haven't had the opportunity to put it in that place. Along with a pencil or something to write with. Also water, especially if we're singing or dancing. I like to carry a book around as well or something to do. Um, and in addition to that, I think that I don't know, I tend to carry a snack. I get hungry, so I always have a granola bar or just something that, you know, can stay in there for a couple days if needed, but that when it comes time, I know that when I have a break, I'm going to need to refer to something I know. So a snack is always something bonus to have in there when needed.
Yes. I thought of another one. And it depends which show you're doing. But if you're doing a show where you have to wear anything that's kind of unusual,
Mm.
um, I always try to have like a rehearsal skirt if that's appropriate, or if you know you're going to be wearing a certain kind of shoe, whether it's like a character shoe or a boot or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was
Um,
going to tag on.
so you can get used to it. I know our newsies last summer practiced with their newsboy bags because they had to dance and twirl and flip and all kinds of stuff. Just getting used to that. So
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, I'd say also, those shoes, if you're wearing a jazz shoe or something else. And for myself, I would always carry a pair of some other shoe to throw on afterwards, because if you dance all afternoon and then your feet stink, you might not want to throw it into your favorite pair of sneakers. So having something extra just for rehearsal is always a suggestion.
Nice. All right. So next question is, what is your favorite character you've played at Encore and outside of Encore?
Ooh, okay. I would say my favorite character at Encore was most likely this past summer. I got to play Finch in our awesome production of Newsies, and I really loved that role because I really stepped out of my comfort zone for that one. I am not a dancer. I am not somebody who has ever taken formal dance class. I took one semester of tap in college, sort of to fulfill a requirement that I needed. And it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. But honestly, nothing more than that. It's been something I've really enjoyed watching and being a part of when I've gotten to, but I've never seen myself as a dancer. So when I got into the show as a dancing, as somebody who's going to have a large dancing role, I was very excited, and really it gave me a lot to work on. I was always rehearsing when I was outside of rehearsal, always outside in the hallways at rehearsal, practicing different things backstage during the show, in between different scenes during intermission. So it really gave me something that now I feel like I can say, hey, I'm actually able to do this. I found myself a couple of months ago, I was in the grocery store and I was waiting in line, and my feet just underneath me sort of like started doing this little like tap thing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I don't know. It was just something that sort of, now my feet were out of control without me just having a little bit of excitement. And so having that experience really like gave me a little more confidence in something that I really never saw myself doing a whole ton of before that point. And then outside of Encore, I would have to say my senior year of high school, it was the very last production that I did with my children's theater. And I had done it ever since I was 6 years old. Every year that we had a production, I was a part of it in some fashion. And by the time I was at my senior year, a lot of my friends who I had grown up doing it with that were all my age had sort of broken off and gone to do different things. And I was sort of one of very few people my age. And I got to work with a lot of people who were younger than me, who were younger in high school and middle school and elementary school. And I got to be sort of a mentor to them. And we were doing the show Peter Pan, and I got to play the role of Captain Hook, which was something that I never expected I would ever play the role of or be up for in an audition. And it was awesome. It was so cool. And I had an awesome time with everybody who was a part of it, because there was sort of this new wave of children who were joining the neighborhood and younger people who were getting to be a part of our program. And while I didn't have necessarily my friends around anymore, besides in the audience, I got to sort of experience this new age of people who were coming in and really getting to love this. And I was getting to sort of be a little bit of an older person that they could look up to, and that they could get excited about, that they could carry this on. Once I've graduated high school, gone on, and could come back and get to see what they've been up to. So that show is something that will always live very closely in my heart. So that's always something that a role that I'll remember.
Nice. Awesome. Miss Aileen in the comments
Yeah.
says, Captain Hook?
I see some good.
So be careful at rehearsal or in class, kids. You never know.
Yeah.
Just turn into Captain Hook there for a second. All right. So kind of going to the more technical side of things, what is your favorite prop you've ever made? And it can be for an encore show or for any other production.
All right. This prop is something that probably a lot of people will be familiar with. And it is the first prop that introduced me to loving props. So during my apprentice year, we were doing the show Pinocchio, and one of our teaching artists, Martha Grace, was our prop master for the show, and she was working on this incredible giant puppet. And when I say giant puppet, I mean it's a wearable costume piece puppet. It was going to have 5 actors inside, a movable mouthpiece, eyes that would light up, a tail that would move up and down so that this big whale in the story of Pinocchio could actually swim across the stage. You could see it, you know, and then when we see the characters in the stomach later, you sort of get the idea of this massive creature. So I remember I was walking along the hall one day and I hear a call from inside one of our classrooms, you know, saying, I think it was asking if somebody could, you know, hand them something that was just out of reach, a roll of tape or something. And they said, you know, hey, you know, is somebody there? And I sort of like turned my head and looked in, and I see at this point what is sort of some pieces of cardboard, some different colored draped fabric, and a whole bunch of our chairs kind of lined up to support this beginning of a sculpture. And I don't see anyone. And so I almost step again, and she goes, yeah, hey, if you don't mind, could you pass me that tape? And I realize I sort of like duck my head, and way underneath what I see is Martha Grace inside, sort of holding up this beginning framework of the inside of this puppeted whale that she's creating. And so I helped her out, handed her the tape, whatever it was that she needed. And I said, this is really cool. What are you doing? Because at that point I wasn't aware that we were creating this really giant thing for the show. So when she explained it to me, I just was so eyes big, mouth to the floor. And I said, that's really cool. And I would love to be a part of that if I could. So I sort of worked on some other tasks that I was assigned for the day. And when I got the opportunity, I was speaking to Susan, who was working on the show. And I said, hey, you know, I saw Martha Grace working on this really cool thing. If I get done with some of my other projects that I'm needed on, is that something that maybe I could also be a part of? And she said, oh yeah, that would be great. You know, especially that it's going to be this really enormous thing. I'm sure she could use help while she's here. So it sort of became this relationship between Martha Grace and myself, where she would let me know when she was coming into the office, and if I could work it around my schedule, I would get to help her out with working on this whale. And I remember that there was a day that she had to leave to go off to do another project, and we were sort of in the middle of finishing this last piece of something. I believe it was hot gluing one of the large pieces of fabric into the correct shape around its form. And she sort of had to leave in the middle of that, but said, you know, feel free to continue working on this. And that was the first time that she was, you know, letting me take a piece of responsibility for this art piece. And I remember finishing attaching the piece of fabric and really going, wow, like I feel like I got to put a little bit of something into this. And then working with her for the rest of the way on it, and getting to work with the kids on how it would work at rehearsals and things like that, was just truly awesome. It was so cool to see, you know, cardboard, some pieces of dowel, you know, some wood, hot glue, duct tape. And if you've seen Pinocchio, it's a giant whale that's the mouth moves and the tail flaps. Like it's pretty cool. So I think that was sort of my real introduction of, you know, you can find things that exist. You need a shovel, you need a vase, but when you need a giant whale, turn to the things that you know and your imagination, and you can create it and it will be unbelievable. So definitely one I will never forget.
Awesome. Cool. So the next question is, what is your favorite Encore office memory? So for those that know Encore, you know that we're a pretty fun bunch, especially here on Instagram. We like posting our theme days. We like to have a good time. So what is your favorite Encore office memory, Miss A?
Actually, this one is but a year old. last year, if you know the Encore staff, we like to do themed dress up days every month. So, it was a little more regular when we were in the office space together, but we would like to call a theme for the month of January and try and all dress up like that theme for our staff meeting, snap a photo and post it and have a little bit of fun. And we like to say that if you have a birthday during the month, then, we'd like to offer that person the opportunity to choose the theme for that month if they'd like to. And so I remember Aileen asking me, she said, "Hey, Amanda, May is coming up. Your birthday's in May. Would you like to pick the office theme?" And I said, "Yes, I've been thinking about this for a while. I would really like to do an office character, like impersonation swap. So for example, everyone would dress up like someone else in the office. So maybe Sarah Duke would dress up like Susan, or Rebecca would dress up like Aileen, right? And you'd sort of change what you'd normally wear for the day, dress up like the other person, all in good fun, and sort of celebrate that way." And she said, "Awesome, I'll let everybody know. We'll see how it goes." We came the day of our staff meeting, time for everyone to dress up. And I arrive at work and I'm looking around and I'm seeing people in clothes that maybe aren't necessarily what they typically wear. And I'm recognizing, okay, people are taking part in the costume day. Awesome. I'm scratching my head trying to figure out who are all these people dressed up as. All right, maybe they're dressed up like so-and-so. Well, not quite, because maybe I thought they might have something that they didn't have. Okay, well, maybe it's, no, not quite so-and-so. Couldn't put my finger on it. We go to take the picture of everybody outside, and when I see everybody together, I realized that the majority of our staff members had dressed up like me. So they had taken the idea of, dressing up and copying a staff member, and they all went to the person whose idea was, for a celebration of my birthday. And I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing. So actually, I've asked our staff to do it again this year. So since my birthday is in the month of May, we will be doing a theme day where everyone will do their best dress up impersonation of Miss A. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And it's something that just really surprised me, which can sometimes be hard to do.
Yes. Well, in the comments, Miss Alana says that she misses our theme days. So I'm going to put it out there to all of our Encore friends. Tomorrow is Dress Like Miss A day.
Yes.
So if you dress up like Miss A, tag us, tag Arlington, and we would love to see.
I would love that so much. Any interpretation you have. It could be hair, it could be socks, it could be full outfit, whatever you have. Tag it. I would love to see it.
Any iteration of the Miss A haircut that
Yes.
it's gone through, anything.
Any colors?
You stole my answer for favorite Encore office memory, so I guess we'll just go to the next question. Ooh, okay. This one is really fun for me, at least. Question for both of us: what are our favorite stage combat moments?
Go ahead if you
Okay, sure.
you have an idea.
So last summer, I was fortunate enough to be asked to help out with our Newsies Brawl at the end of Act 1. And it was really fun for me. Rebecca, production manager, stage manager extraordinaire, and we worked on it together, and it was kind of intimidating because our cast for the summer show was really big and almost everyone was in that fight. So being able to work with people of all different ages, because we had some youth newsies that were as young as like 11 all the way up through, high schoolers, college students, adults. And it was kind of the biggest fight I'd ever worked on. Before that, I think I only had maybe 8 people in a scene that were doing stage combat. So that was really cool for me. And then it always makes me laugh. I wish someone had taken pictures of Fight Call during Tech Week. because I was usually in some form of like my stage makeup and like maybe half of my old timey hairdo and like just different parts of my costume, like standing there, like running the fight over and over, which I guess just seemed like a really funny picture to me. I joked that Miss Meta had to be a tough lady to run a theater. Like, look out, don't mess with Miss Meta because she'll, I don't know. So that's my answer.
Nice. Yes. That fight was awesome. Just to give another perspective, another fight that I was a part of was when I was in Peter Pan and I was playing Captain Hook, and it's the last fight of the show where Captain Hook and Peter Pan are fighting on the ship, and there was this really awesome moment because we had the flying equipment, so our person who is playing Peter Pan was able to fly and jump over my head at different points or fly over my head, and it was a really awesome sort of combat scene because we had, you know, these metal swords that we were using that made awesome like clink clank sounds when they would go together, and it was sort of all these different movements, and it was very slow because you know, it was very dramatic and sort of this very you know, dynamic sort of a thing that was going on. So it wasn't very fast or quick or anything like that, but it was just sort of like these two very powerful people that you can kind of root for on either side. Probably no one was rooting for me, but that's okay. Getting to do these sort of very iconic things that you remember from your childhood, and when I was getting to be a part of that, it was sort of, I felt like I was in the movie. I was a part of that animated Disney film that we all know and love. And he, the person playing Peter ended up standing on my sword at a certain point and then lowers it down so that it actually like falls to the floor of the ship. And that's when I have to surrender. And it was just this thing that I remember we had to practice over and over with the fathers off stage who were, you know, hoisting the kid to be flying and then lowering him as slowly as they possibly could to match the speed that we were working with. And I just remember in the rehearsals of that, you could, you know, my dad was actually one of the guys, you know, one of the flyers. And so I was, you know, holding my sword, and I would actually get to see him like doing commands and calls and being a part of all of that. So it sort of would bring everything all together. So stage combat is a very cool thing in a lot of forms that it brings.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. I'm a very peaceful person, but when you get me on stage, I'm like, let me do something. I wanna fake hit somebody. I wanna do something cool. Okay, so we actually have so many questions. I don't want to keep you for too long, so I'm going to go with one last question.
All right.
We might just have to have you on again in the future because
Sounds
folks
good.
have a lot they want to know. Um, but I think this one is a great one to wrap it up with. But here we go. What classes are you teaching now, and how powerful is it for students to learn online during this time?
Yes, I'm teaching a number of classes right now, actually. I'm teaching a couple of Saturday classes for our younger students. I'm teaching a class about Dr. Seuss. I'm teaching a class about Happily Ever After and fairy tales. So getting to work with those students Saturday mornings. I'm also teaching a class that starts tonight. It's a comedy class. We're going to be focusing on humor and ways to lighten our spirits in these different times. I'm actually working with some different school programs through some different enrichment classes to be able to provide all sorts of different students, different classes that they might not otherwise be receiving. So it's been a lot of fun to be exploring this virtual world and seeing the different ways that we can take the content that we know and love to bring to you all and transform it into this new sort of fashion that we all can access in a new way. So like I was saying before, you know, we all have the activities that we're used to, the game that we might automatically go to in our mind, but we're finding that a game like charades, instead of our, you know, beanbag tossing game, can now be a new way that our students are engaging with one another, discovering things about themselves, working together, becoming new and imaginative creatures. So I think that it's definitely providing a new way to view theater and to achieve this art form. And I think that for a lot of our older students in the different classes that we have available for them and different programs we have going on, we're able to look at plays and scripts in a new way, which we don't necessarily get the time for in our typical production series. So we're getting the opportunity to dive into our scene work and talk about all the different things that would go on stage, backstage, behind the scenes, all together in a classroom sort of format, and then still get to present those things in a way that we're familiar with. So I think that for students in this virtual classroom, it's really a way to deepen our love for theater, I think, in new ways that we didn't necessarily know before. And I think we're also able to give even more to you all. I'd say that by having a virtual setup, I'm able to create a lot of content here in front of you, but I'm also, my mind is racing with all these different things I can provide on the outside. So we have live classes that you're free to join at any point on Facebook. We do these different interactive things where we want to hear your feedback and your comments and your thoughts for us, so that we're always trying to reach out and engage with you all, so that everything that you guys know and love from us is still fully here and you haven't missed any bit of it. So I know that it's different. I know that a lot of times, you know, the idea of sitting in front of your computer or in front of a screen for a bit of time sounds like something you've had enough of, you don't want to sign up for anymore. But I promise we are finding every way to get you out of your seat, to have you using your imagination, to step away from the screen, to go outside, to do something that you haven't been thinking of today. So yes, tune in with us on screen for a few moments, get an idea of what we might be working on, get the instructions for the game, and then explore with us. Find new ways that you get to love theater in your home, in your space, with the people that you have living with you that maybe haven't experienced the way that you have before. So I'm just really excited about all the new things that we're able to bring to our programming because of this very different format that we're in now.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Also, for my friends, if you are missing out on hanging out with Miss A, our staff is planning for summer in whatever way it can happen, whether that is in person, online, or some combination thereof. So join us for camp. We would love to have you. Miss A usually works with our 5 to 9-year-olds at It's Elementary, but the rest of our staff will be around. Miss Madeline, Mr. Patrick, lots of faces you know and love. So if you have any questions, reach out to us about summer camp. We'd love to talk to you and to make you part of our summer.
Absolutely.
We're going to have fun. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Miss A, for taking the time and sharing so many great stories with us. We hope to have you back again soon.
Yes, thank you so much. I love coming on and getting to share things with all of you guys out there. So thank you so much. And everybody, please stay safe. Keep washing your hands.
All right. Bye, Miss A.
Bye.
Alrighty, so thank you so much to everyone who tuned in, either live or is joining us afterwards on IGTV. If you have any questions for Miss A or any members of our staff, shoot us a DM. We'd be happy to help you. All of our contact information is in our bio. As I mentioned, summer camp information is available online, and we are going for it. Encore summer will happen. Rain, shine, inside, online, however we can. Until next time, as Miss A said, stay safe and have a great day. Bye-bye.